Why successful men stay single. If you're a man with a successful career or your own business and you want to find a serious, meaningful, long-term relationship, this video is for you. The first reason as to why you haven't found the right woman for the long term is because you haven't even aimed clearly. You haven't even primed your selective focus because you haven't written down your must-haves, your nice-to-haves, your deal breakers. You have to understand that most people, just like you and me in the past, meet their partners through convenience and proximity. She was just kind of there. Mary was at work, working in finance in London. She was in the office. And then you risk losing your job because you date somebody from the office because you're not getting enough quality options. It was the same with me and my ex-wife. I met her through convenience, through martial arts. I was training martial arts in Ireland, and her uncle, he's one of the legends in the karate space. So I met her through that environment. But we weren't compatible. And that's why that relationship ended, and I really suffered a lot. It was only when I met my mentor working for Salesforce many, many years ago, who's a legend when it comes to dating, me and him, we coach together nowadays, that I was able to work on my communication skills, my confidence, and get out there and get enough quality options to even discover what I truly want to then refine it. Because the first, or one of the first steps, experience is always more important, but one of the first steps is to actually write down my must-haves, nice-to-haves, and deal breakers. Now you might say, David, aren't deal breakers just the same thing as must-haves? Well, in a way, they're the opposite, yes, but for us as human beings, as men in particular, it's oftentimes a lot easier to write down what we don't want. For example, somebody who's easily offended, somebody who controls us, somebody who's addicted to social media, right? Who exhibits all of these red flags, and then we can inverse it or reverse it, and we can get what we're actually looking for, our must-haves. And then the separation between must-haves and nice-to-haves is also very, very important, because there's things that should be must-haves that are currently in your nice-to-have list if you had one, which hopefully you soon will after this video. And then there are certain must-haves that aren't really must-haves that might become a nice-to-have, so you can expand your options. Now, I'm the last person to lower your standards, because people say, David, maybe I'm just too picky. You're not too picky. I have never met a man who's not completely delusional, who was actually too picky. Most likely, you just don't have enough quality options available to yourself, and that gets us to the next step. Once you have aimed high, because remember, people don't fail in life because they aim too high and miss, but because they aim too low and hit. Once you've done that, you then have to start taking action. You have to put yourself out there, and then you have to use all of the channels available to yourself to get quality options. There's really only three. There's dating apps, in-person approaches, and there's Instagram. Yes, you can meet somebody through events, through real estate events, finance events, or whatever industry you happen to be in. But the problem is you risk reputational damage, and the pool is very limited. Matchmaking, by the way, isn't really an option. I've had plenty of clients who burn 10, 20, 30K on matchmaking just to end up with poor quality dates in terms of what they're looking for regarding physical attractiveness, values, personality, long-term goal alignment. Even if somebody were to put your future wife in front of you, you would still find a way to mess it up, most likely, because you haven't learned how to communicate authentically and effectively to the right target audience, how to create a man-to-woman connection, how to express yourself with ease, how to be truly confident around that caliber of woman that you actually see yourself with for the long term. But use all these channels. Get on dating apps. Raya, Hinge, Bumble, Tinder, Match, Christian Mingle, whichever one you like. Now, the choice of the platform only makes up for 20 to 30% of the success. You have to build a really good profile, 4 types of photos: professional photography, lifestyle, status, and social proof. Then you have to have really good prompts, and you have to have a really good bio. Remember, prompts as well as texting. The only purpose of those is to reduce friction. You're never going to win her over because you have an amazing bio or amazing prompt or amazing texting. But you have to still be good at it. You still have to stand out, differentiate yourself, and reduce friction. Most men suck at all of that. And by the way, if you want us to help you with that personally, if you want to find a meaningful relationship through dating apps or whatever channel, click the link below and apply for a free initial consultation, or look at some of the other 300 free videos we have here on YouTube. We have a Spotify podcast. We have thousands of free short-form videos across all social media channels. We have now, 2 million followers across Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. YouTube is actually our smallest channel. So go and check those out as well. But build a really good profile, learn how to text, and then just through dating apps, you should be able to get at least 2 to 4 quality dates a month. Maybe more. I've had clients who got 4 to 5 dates a week. Now, that's a bit excessive, And it's really not necessary to have that many, but you should have at least 2 to 4 quality dates a month from dating apps alone. And then we haven't even touched Instagram or in-person approaches yet, because if you're in London and you're walking down Oxford Street or New Bond Street or wherever you happen to work, do you not see women that you'd like to go and talk to? You're in a Starbucks, you're in one of those private members clubs, or maybe you're in a gym, or maybe you're in a bar. Don't go to clubs necessarily, because 80-90% of the people you'll meet in clubs, they won't be compatible with you. They won't be compatible enough with you. Look, let's face the reality. These people, they're not going to be your wife, okay? If she hangs out in nightclubs every weekend, that's not what you're ultimately looking for. I could use some more derogatory language to describe what goes on in there, but you know, okay? But bars, depending on the type of bar, can be very good. You have to develop the skill set of introducing yourself and starting a conversation either in everyday situations or in bars. You have to do it. Because if you don't, how are you going to teach your son someday? And by the way, even if you can get dates, 50 to 70% of my clients find a girlfriend or wife through dating apps. Even if you can get enough dates through dating apps, which you absolutely can, you will rob yourself of the most transformational experiences ever, which is going out there and starting a conversation out of nothingness. Every man pretends he could, but he doesn't. I could if I really wanted to. Really? So why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you doing it, bro? Why aren't you? Because you can't. 2 reasons. You haven't overcome your approach anxiety and you haven't mastered the skill set. That's it. If you could, you would. If you could stand on Tower Bridge in London and talk to somebody who's walking by, you would be doing it. Now, do you have the potential? Yes, absolutely. But you have to overcome your approach anxiety. I just uploaded a video about that today. I don't know when this video is going to be posted. But we had a video on this YouTube channel called How to Overcome Your Approach Anxiety. Look at that as well. You have to learn it. You have to put yourself out there. You will learn things about communication, conversational threads, congruence tests, being grounded, confidence, frame control, state, that will transfer into the relationship. These are lessons that you will take with you for the rest of your life. Next channel, Instagram. You can just send direct messages. If you have a good profile, 9 to 12, good, really good pictures. You make sure you're not tagged in some weird things. You have a couple of story highlights and you spend 1 or 2 minutes a day. By the way, dating apps only take 15 minutes a day. Okay, if you're spending more than that, on dating apps, you're wasting your time, 15 minutes a day. You spend 1 minute a day additionally per day, 1 minute a day, on Instagram stories to foster a sense of emotional engagement, because every story you post is basically like a direct message to her without an investment into any particular individual, but she will still see them, so it creates emotional engagement, and the probability that she'll actually show up to the first, second, third date is a lot higher. Because remember, it's not just that you have a profile. How much emotional engagement and buy-in does your profile create within her? That is ultimately the question. Now, you get all these channels and then you move them to Instagram. Ideally, you can use numbers, that's fine. You can just exchange WhatsApp or iMessage, no problem. But you will get 2 to 3 times minimum better results. In other words, you're going to get 2 to 3 times more dates. The time it'll take you to find a quality, meaningful relationship will be cut into a third, if not into a half, if you use Instagram. And it doesn't take a lot of time, and it's actually very easy. But you have to bring them there. Because then you post a little story, you're walking through Tower Bridge. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It doesn't have to be Emirates first class all the time. It doesn't have to be you flexing your Rolex. That's not what this is about. It can be fun, it can be silly, it can be lighthearted. Sometimes it's going to be you flexing, not showing off. It has to be in a very calibrated way, because the more try-hard it is, you can actually shoot yourself in the foot. It can be flexing, but maybe just you at a dinner. Maybe you with really cool people. Social proof, status, lifestyle, professional photography. Again, those 4 core categories. And then you have to master texting. Again, in my coaching program, we teach the texting framework in depth. And we also have a lot of free videos on which mistakes to avoid. For example, massive blocks of text, over-investing, being cringe. It's really a skill set, because you can be good at communicating in general. You can be good at communicating via email or on Slack, but you still suck at texting. And trust me, 99% of men suck at texting. Used to be the same thing for me. And by the way, I did a business degree. I got a first-class honors in business back in the day. And I still had to write in hand all the exams. And yet, even though I was good at communicating in a written way, still sucked at texting, because it's a completely different context with its own nuances and its own rules. Then you're on the date and you have to learn to communicate your personality authentically, freely, The more you can reduce the filters from your communication, the better off you'll be. In your professional environment, in your business or in your career, you have learned, you have been rewarded for filtering your communication, for holding back, for overthinking, for not sharing certain things. And that is absolutely appropriate within that given context. But remember, what is a competence in one context is a weakness in another context. It's your detriment in another context. Because in order for her to be truly excited about you, you have to create emotional spikes. And the way you create emotional spikes is you stop filtering your communication. You say what you actually believe. You say what you actually truly believe. Sounds simple, but you're not really doing it, are you? You think you're being honest with women? You're really not. You're actually fake as fuck. You're really fake, and you're not even realizing it. You communicate like a little weasel with women. I'm not saying you are, but you're not fully letting it out. And you will never be able to attract a truly quality woman or quality male friends if you don't say what you actually believe. You come across as unbelievably weak. Gotta call you out for that. And so sometimes it's a little whisper. Sometimes it's a little feeling in your gut, in your chest, a little thought. Maybe I should say this, but you suppress it. You already have really good insights. You are intelligent. You have really good ideas and stories that you could share. And yet you go to interview style questions and you ask the questions because you run out of things to say, because you don't know how to escalate things in a calibrated and effective way. You don't know how to do these things. And that's why you revert to asking her questions and you place the burden of the conversation on her. You have to assume the burden of the conversation during your date with her right up until the point when she starts investing. Once she starts investing in you, then you obviously let her talk. And then you ask questions, but don't ask 3-4 questions in a row, because I guarantee you for a fact, she will feel interviewed and she will be bored, because if you ask her questions, she can only tell you things that she's heard before. But if you tell stories in a captivating manner and you're free in your expression, the reactions you can create, it's unbelievable. This is not about being fake, pretending to be somebody you're not. This is about authentically and effectively, imagine two circles, authenticity and effectiveness, or relatability, both of them overlapping. It's about both. It's about authentically communicating who you are in your own way while paying attention to the best practices of building attraction. You have to come across more masculine. You are masculine in certain ways, but not enough in your communication with women. But the more you can let it out, the more attraction you'll actually be able to build. And when it comes to creating a man-to-woman connection, again, I have a 28-minute YouTube video here. We have an hour-and-a-half video on this YouTube channel from a seminar where we talk about these things. Go through some of them. They will really, really help you. And then you need to disqualify the wrong women. Because if you want long-term compatibility, it is absolutely vital that you disqualify the wrong people. And you understand that 90% of the women you'll meet, they won't be right for you. Probably a lot more than that. 49 out of 50, 99 out of 100. You need a lot more interaction points to then disqualify the wrong people quickly. One of the biggest mistakes men make is they're trying to make it work with the wrong women. Trying to make it work with the wrong people will lead to disaster. Trying to make it work, convincing women to be with you, one right for you, chasing, double texting, when you're emotionally reaching, it's not meant to be. My ex-wife and I, we were trying to make it work, and it led to disaster. The disaster was emotional suffering. I suffered a ton in that relationship. It was really, really miserable. And not because she's a bad person, purely because of a lack of compatibility. Yeah, could I say she was difficult? She'd probably say the same thing about me. Ultimately, it's a lack of compatibility. We both aren't bad people. But if two good people come together and they're not compatible and they're hanging on to each other because they're meeting each other's need for love and connection, that leads to disaster. That leads to emotional suffering. So my invitation is disqualify the wrong people a lot more quickly. And then what you want to do is you really want to manage the dating process over 2 or 3 months before making it exclusive. Because it takes 2 to 3 months, sometimes a month, sometimes 5 or 6. There's a little bit of individual variance, of course. There are no hard set iron rules, but 2 to 3 months is usually what it takes before making it exclusive. If you're trying to make it exclusive too quickly, she will get freaked out. It's too much pressure. You don't want that. Even if she's looking for something for the long term, which the right woman is, it's too much pressure. Hey, let's get to know each other. Let's evaluate our options, because trying to make it exclusive with the first best option will lead to pain. You're gonna need to go on a lot of dates, my friend. Trust me. If you want long-term compatibility, you're gonna have to kiss a couple of frogs to meet your princess. But if you then set your boundaries, you communicate your expectations, you communicate your needs, you study the dynamics of attraction, the probability that the relationship is going to go well for a very, very long time is extremely high. So I've done this now with hundreds of men from all around the world, London, the UK, or anywhere else in the UK, the US, everywhere. If you want me to help you personally find a meaningful, serious, fulfilling relationship, click the link below, apply for a free initial consultation. Looking forward to speaking with you soon. Take care.